When you're looking at a NAS and the first thing you think about is cheaper is better, you usually end up with a box that can't keep up with your media library, your home office backups, or that one-off project you promised yourself you'd finally finish. I've been there, grabbed a bargain 4-bay unit, set it up, and then spent a weekend wrestling with random disconnects, sluggish file transfers, and a cramped user interface that made me wonder why I even bothered. The question is, does the DiscTech DS425 Plus feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another shiny case with a higher price tag? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The DS425 Plus lands in a crowded segment of small business and prosumer NAS devices. It's marketed as a combo, 4 8TB enterprise drives already inside, a Celeron J4125 quad-core CPU, 2 GB of DDR4 RAM, and a 2.5 GB network port. At first glance, that's a lot of hardware for a relatively modest price, and that's where the real value proposition lives. If you're the sort of user who needs 32 TB of usable space from day one, say a photographer with a growing archive of RAW files, a podcaster juggling multiple high bitrate audio tracks, or a small office that wants an in-house backup server without the overhead of a full-blown server rack, you'll find the plug-and-play nature of this unit fairly appealing. The big selling point is that you don't have to hunt down compatible drives or worry about RAID configuration. DiscTech has already done that work for you. That said, there are practical trade-offs that show up once you power the thing up. The Celeron J4125 is a low-power chip that performs well enough for basic file serving, media streaming to a few devices, and light virtualization. In my testing, and in what I've heard from a handful of other early adopters, the CPU can handle Plex transcoding for one 1080p stream without choking, but it struggles if you throw two 4K streams at it at the same time. That's a real limitation if you plan to use the NAS as a primary media hub for a family that watches 4K content on several TVs simultaneously. The 2 GB of RAM also feels a little thin for anything beyond basic file sharing. You can add more, but the process isn't as seamless as you'd hope. You have to open the chassis, replace the SODIMM, and reboot, which defeats the NOFA's promise for many non-technical buyers. Connectivity is where the DS425 Plus tries to differentiate itself. The built-in 2.5 GBE port is a nice step up from the standard 1 GBE you see on most entry-level NAS boxes. In practice, you'll notice a tangible difference when moving large video files across your local network. I transferred a 30 GB RAW photo set from a workstation to the NAS and saw transfer rates hover around 210 MB per second, well within the realm of what the 2.5 GBE spec promises. However, that speed only appears if your switch and client device also support 2.5 GBE. If you're still on a 1 GBE network, you won't get any benefit, and you'll be paying extra for an interface you can't use. The drive configuration is another point worth drilling into. DiscTech ships the DS425 Plus with 4 8TB enterprise-grade HDDs. Those drives have the reliability of a data center environment, which means lower failure rates and better endurance under constant read-write cycles. For a home user, that level of durability may be overkill, especially if you're on a budget. You could buy a cheaper NAS chassis and pair it with a set of NAS-rated but less expensive drives, and the total cost could end up lower than the DiscTech bundle. On the flip side, if you're a small business that can't afford downtime, having those robust drives pre-installed is a PC-off-mind factor that's hard to quantify but very real. From a software standpoint, DiscTech leans on a fairly standard Linux-based OS with a web dashboard that's clean but not as polished as Synology's DSM or QNAP's QTS. The interface lets you set up RAID 5, schedule backups, and enable basic cloud sync. It's functional, but you'll notice the lack of polished apps and the occasional lag when opening the file manager after a heavy folder operation. Anyone who's used to a feature-rich app ecosystem may find the experience a bit barebones. That said, the core functions, file sharing, snapshot backups, and basic media streaming work reliably once you get past the initial setup. So, who should buy the DiscTech DS425 Plus? If you're a creator with a sizable media library, need a reliable backup target, and want a system that you can set up and walk away from, this NAS checks a lot of boxes. The pre-installed enterprise drives, the sizable 32 TB capacity, and the faster network interface align well with scenarios where you're moving terabytes of data regularly. Think video editors, architects with large CAD files, or a small office that wants a local cloud. It also suits tech-savvy hobbyists who don't mind opening the unit to upgrade RAM or swap drives down the line. Who should skip it? If you're primarily